The diplomatic chambers of the orbital citadel were hushed, a rare pocket of quiet above a world that never stopped humming. The station floated over the green-blue sphere of Ethra, the newly christened capital of the Galactic Alliance, where species from the farthest arms of the spiral gathered to negotiate, argue, and, when all else failed, fight wars of words instead of plasma fire. At one end of the polished obsidian table sat humans, ambassadors, soldiers, pilots in crisp uniforms. On the other side sat the delegation of the Illyrians, an ancient species shrouded in myth, their pale skin faintly iridescent, their eyes pools of light. The Illyrians were said to be so in tune with living things that they could sense vibrations in the blood, the music of cells. And between those two lines of tension sat Elias Ward, a human pilot chosen not for politics but for one simple reason. He had been the first human to survive a crash in Illyrian space and return alive. Opposite him sat Seraphine, the Illyrian envoy, cloaked in robes that seemed spun from starlight. She was inscrutable, serene, her luminous gaze never wavering. The others in the chamber spoke of trade routes, borders, fleets. But Elias and Seraphine had their own silence, one that pressed on both of them like a storm waiting to break. It was during a recess, when the chamber emptied and only the two of them remained, that the silence finally cracked. Seraphine's hand, delicate, long-fingered, cool as moonlight, rested against his wrist as she passed him a data slate, a gesture so small it might have gone unnoticed by anyone else. But Elias froze. His breath hitched. His heart leapt in his chest like a caged bird. Seraphine tilted her head, her voice soft and musical, yet carrying an edge of bewilderment. "Human, why does your pulse race as if alive when my hand touches yours?" Elias wasn't supposed to be here. He had been a soldier once, flying through the burning skies of the Outer Rim, but peace, or something resembling it, had grounded him. Now, he was a reluctant representative of Earth, chosen not because of eloquence, but because fate had tied him to the Illyrians in ways no one fully understood. Months ago, his fighter had gone down in Illyrian territory. Instead of letting him die, Seraphine herself had intervened, guiding him out of the wreckage. He remembered the way her touch had calmed the fire in his lungs, how her voice had resonated not just in his ears, but somewhere deeper. He had survived, but not unchanged. The Illyrians were a mystery to humanity. Their biology was different, their senses sharper. They could feel electromagnetic pulses, vibrations of thought, even the subtle electricity of living flesh. To them, humans were raw, chaotic, impossible to predict. Seraphine, daughter of Illyria's High Council, had been tasked to study them, and Elias Ward, against his will, had become her subject. But what had begun as detached study now carried undertones neither fully understood. Her words lingered in the silence of the chamber. Elias tried to laugh it off, though it came out uneven. "That's just biology, a normal response." Her gaze sharpened. "Normal? Your vessel of blood accelerates, your breathing stutters, your skin flushes. Yet no danger is near. I have touched others in this chamber. Their hearts did not thunder as yours does. Maybe they hide it better. Or perhaps," she said, voice almost whisper, "you do not understand yourself." The statement struck him harder than it should have, because the truth was, he didn't. Ever since that crash, ever since her hand had pulled him out of the wreckage, he had felt something stir inside him when she was near. An awareness, a quickening. It was dangerous. Humans and Illyrians were not meant to be close. Their cultures warned against it. Their histories were stained with suspicion. But Seraphine didn't withdraw her hand. Instead, she studied him like she might study the stars, curious, patient, waiting for the universe to yield an answer. That night, Elias lay awake in his assigned quarters, staring at the curved ceiling. He told himself it was nothing, a reaction, a trick of biology. But Seraphine's question haunted him. "Why does your pulse race?" The answer came not in words, but in fire. Days later, the Citadel shuddered under assault. A faction opposed to the Alliance, remnant of the war who saw peace as betrayal, unleashed an attack. Explosions rippled through the docking bays. Sirens wailed. Elias rushed to the hangar, instinct guiding his every step. Amid the chaos, he found Seraphine, her robes torn, her calm finally cracked by the violence. She was trying to reach an escape craft, but fire rained from above. Without thinking, Elias grabbed her hand. Electricity surged through him, stronger than the shock of any battlefield. Her luminous eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. Together they ran, weaving through falling debris. His pulse thundered again, but this time it wasn't just from fear. It was the same storm that had haunted him since the first time she touched him. They reached the hangar just as raiders descended. Ships powered up, weapons locked. Elias knew they wouldn't make it unless they fought. "I need a pilot," he said, shoving her toward the cockpit of an unused interceptor. "I am no warrior," she protested, though her hand trembled in his. "You don't have to be. Just trust me." The interceptor roared to life, lifting into the void. Raiders swarmed them like carrion birds, weapons cutting across the black. Elias's hands danced over controls, but this ship wasn't built for him alone. It needed two to fly at full capacity. "Take the rear console," he shouted. Seraphine hesitated, then obeyed. As her hands touched the alien controls, the ship's systems flared alive, reacting to her touch, amplifying their connection. And then it happened again. Their bodies synced, her senses wrapping around as like light on glass. She could feel his pulse, his breath, the rhythm of his life. Her voice slipped into his mind like a thread of silver. "You're hot. It beats for me." Elias gritted his teeth, pulling the craft into an impossible roll. "Focus, Seraphine." "I am focused. But you burn so brightly. Human. Every thought, every emotion, it radiates through you. No Illyrian has ever felt such fire." The ship twisted through enemy lines, her instincts feeding his reflexes. Together they fought like one being, not two. When the last raider fell and silence returned to the void, the two of them sat in the cockpit, breathless. Seraphine's hand brushed his again. She looked at him, not as a subject to be studied, not as a soldier of a former enemy, but as something she had never encountered before. "Now I understand," she whispered. "Your pulse races because you are alive. You live with a fire my people have forgotten." When they returned, the Citadel was battered but standing. The attack had been repelled, the Alliance saved for another fragile day. In aftermath, as diplomats counted losses and generals planned retaliation, Elias found himself once again beside Seraphine in the quiet chamber. She reached for his wrist, not to test him, not to study, but to hold. "Human," she said softly, "your pulse is still racing." Elias gave a half-smile. "It probably always will when you're near." She didn't let go, and for the first time in her life, Seraphine allowed herself to feel the rhythm of another heart as more than a curiosity. It was not weakness. It was connection. The chamber filled again with voices of war and politics. But between them, silence remains.